Critical periods, the magic windows of the developing brain. Imagine a newborn baby, eyes barely open, grasping at the air, hearing the world for the very first time. Now imagine that tiny brain, about the size of a small orange, forming 1,000,000 new neural connections every single second. Yes, every second. It's like watching fireworks in slow motion, synapses bursting, neurons reaching out like tree branches, searching for other branches to connect to. This is what scientists call the critical period, a once-in-a-lifetime window when the brain is at its most flexible, hungry, and ready to learn. But here's the twist most people don't know. What happens during those critical periods, and what doesn't, can shape who you become for the rest of your life. It's not destiny carved in stone, but it's a powerful influence, one that explains why early experiences matter so much, and how the brain builds its first version of you. The fireworks in the brain during the first few years of life, the brain grows faster than it ever will again. By age 3, a child's brain has already formed twice as many neural connections as an adult's. Why twice? Because the brain doesn't yet know which connections it'll need, so it overbuilds everything. It's like laying down thousands of roads before the city even decides where people are going to live. Then, through experience, the brain keeps the highways that are used often and trims away the unused ones. This process is called synaptic pruning, is how your brain becomes efficient. A baby who hears multiple languages before the age of 2 can grow neural highways for all of them. But if they only hear one language, the brain prunes away the others, making it harder to learn them later. That's the bittersweet beauty of the critical period. It gives children an incredible advantage to absorb sound, movement, emotion, and social cues, but once the window closes, it never fully reopens. The story of Emily and the violin. Let's meet Emily. At age 4, Emily's parents bought her a tiny violin. At first, she squeaked more than she played, but within a year, her little fingers danced across the strings with precision that stunned her music teacher. When neuroscientists scanned the brains of young musicians like Emily, they found something remarkable. The motor cortex, in the part of the brain that controls hand movement, was physically larger in children who started before age 7. Why? Because the brain literally restructures itself to match experience. Each hour of practice laid down new connections between motor neurons, auditory regions, and the cerebellum, fine-tuning the dance between hearing and movement. Now, if Emily had started learning at 17 instead of 4, she could still become good. But her brain's plasticity wouldn't be quite the same. It's not that she couldn't learn. It's just that her window of effortless mastery had closed. Love, touch, and the brain. Not all critical periods are about skills. Some are about love. Back in the 1940s, a psychologist named Harry Harlow conducted a controversial study with baby monkeys. He gave them 2 mothers, one made of wire that offered milk and one made of soft cloth that offered no food. The babies clung to the soft one for comfort, choosing warmth over nourishment. That experiment helped prove what we now know for certain. Emotional connection shapes the developing brain. When human infants are held, comforted, and talked to, their brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This strengthens neural pathways in the limbic system, teaching the brain what safety feels like. In neglected or abused children, those same pathways don't form properly, leaving them more prone to anxiety, distrust, and emotional dysregulation later in life. But here's the hopeful side. While the critical period for emotional wiring is early, the brain remains capable of healing through safe, nurturing relationships even decades later. That's neuroplasticity, the bridge between what was and what can still be, language and the lost. Window, there's perhaps no clearer example of critical periods than language. Scientists once studied a girl known by the pseudonym Jeannie. She was tragically isolated until age 13, never spoken to, never taught. When she was rescued and researchers tried to teach her language, she learned words, but not grammar. Her brain had missed the critical window for syntactic processing, roughly between ages 1 and 6. It's as if the language circuits were waiting for input, and when none came, they rewired for something else. This isn't just a story about tragedy. It's a lesson about timing. The brain learns best when it expects to learn. That's what a critical period really is. a biological readiness window when the brain is tuned to absorb certain kinds of input. Once that window closes, it takes exponentially more effort to learn the same thing. How experience shapes the senses vision offers another powerful example. If a newborn's eye is patched for just a few weeks during a critical period, the brain's visual cortex can permanently lose connections for that eye, a condition known as amblyopia or lazy eye. Even though the eye itself is fine, the brain stops processing input from it. But if the patching happens in adulthood, no problem. The visual cortex has already stabilized its wiring. That's why doctors treat amblyopia early, forcing the weaker eye to work during that crucial window. It's a race against time, one that reveals how experience sculpts sensory maps in the brain. Why childhood isn't everything now? You might be thinking, so if I missed my critical periods, am I stuck with what I've got? Absolutely not. Critical periods are not the end of brain growth. They're just the beginning. Think of them as setting the base layer of a painting, the broad strokes of color that form your early life. But neuroplasticity allows you to keep adding new layers, shades, and details throughout adulthood. The childhood brain is like wet clay, easily molded. The adult brain is like tempered glass, harder to reshape, but still possible with enough heat, repetition, and intention. The science of reopening windows in recent years, scientists have discovered ways to reopen plasticity windows that were once thought permanently closed. For instance, antidepressants like fluoxetine, Prozac, have been shown to temporarily boost neuroplasticity in the adult visual cortex, similar to levels seen in childhood. Other studies found that environmental enrichment, a mix of exercise, social interaction, novelty, and learning, can also reactivate plasticity-related genes. It's as if the brain keeps a hidden key to unlock its old flexibility. It just needs the right combination of stimuli. This discovery is now helping researchers explore new therapies for stroke, trauma, and even autism spectrum disorders, where carefully guided stimulation might reopen the brain's learning windows. Parenting the plastic brain. For parents watching this, the message is simple but powerful. Every moment of connection, curiosity, and play shapes your child's brain architecture. When your toddler asks why, for the 100th time, that's their brain stretching. When they make mistakes, fall, and try again, that's synaptic strengthening in action. Instead of perfection, what children need most is safe exploration. Because the brain grows best in an environment of emotional safety and intellectual challenge, not fear. So if you ever feel like you're not doing enough as a parent, remember this: the small moments and the bedtime stories, the laughter, the gentle corrections, they literally become part of your child's neural structure. What we can learn as adults understanding. Critical periods isn't just about childhood. It's also about compassion for our adult selves. Maybe you didn't have the best start. Maybe your early environment was chaotic, or you missed out on certain nurturing experiences. Knowing how the brain develops gives you the power to stop blaming yourself and start building new experiences that your brain can still learn from. Because while those early windows may close, your lifelong plasticity stays open, ready to grow, heal, and rewire. Closing reflection. So the next time you see a child learning, laughing, or exploring, guys, remember, you're not just watching play. You're watching neurons wire together in real time, a masterpiece of biological art. And when you nurture that curiosity, whether in a child or yourself, you're lighting up the same neural circuits that keep the human story evolving. The critical period may end, but the miracle of plasticity never does. If you found this story inspiring and learned something new about the amazing power of the brain, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more mind-expanding stories like this one. Together, we're exploring how science, life, and resilience all connect, one neuron at a time.